struck him out. Stand, baby! Nice play.
Well, here we go tonight. The middle game of this three-game series, the Mariners and the Houston Astros inside Safeco Field. Happy you're with us for Mariners baseball on Root Sports. Aaron Goldford alongside Mike Flowers, our entire Root Sports crew. Ariel Miranda and the Mariners taking the field in advance of Game 2. The Astros winning yesterday on Labor Day in Game 1 of the series. The Mariners very much in the hunt for the wild card, every game meaning so much. As we take a look now at the lineup as put down by A.J. Hinch.
Pretty good Houston club. First in average, first in run scores, and it starts with George Springer leading things off. He has 4 home runs in his career against Miranda, so they want to be careful with him. Hitting third, Jose Altuve having an MVP-type season. He leads the American League with a .354 batting average. Brian McCann will hit 8th in the lineup. He hit his 14th home run of the year in yesterday's ball game. Now look at Miranda, 8.6 on the year, a 4.85 ERA for him, and 150 in the third. He has 129 strikeouts over 53 walks. Look at the defense. Ben Gamble did not get the start yesterday, back in the lineup in left field today. Yonder Alonso will be at first base, and Mike Zunino will do the catching. Miranda in his last outing against Baltimore, 4 1/3, 8 hits, 6 earned runs in that outing. He didn't walk anybody, he had 6 strikeouts. He did have to throw 83 pitches.
Now Miranda looking for his first quality start since the final days of July. Has been much better at home than he has on the road this season. The splits are pretty extreme actually. Facing a familiar opponent in the Houston Astros. George Springer knows Miranda very well. All 4 hits that he has against the Mariners starter have been home runs, and 2 have begun the game this year. 2 leadoff home runs against Miranda this season. This time on the ground. Good start for Ariel Miranda. Easy play for Seager. 1 out.
Again, for Miranda, good fastball. Average fastball this year at 92 miles an hour. Changeup, split to go with it. Occasional slider or cutter.
Now facing Alex Bregman. Bregman swinging a red-hot bat, a 5-game hitting streak, but more so than that, much more than that, since mid-August, batting over .360. Now for the Mariners lately, Mike, for as much of a problem as starting pitching has been, especially over the last month and change for the Mariners, they have had a nice welcome change. They've actually gotten some nice length out of the rotation recently, and that continued yesterday with Erasmo Ramirez. It's been nice to see. Of course, it comes at a time where the bullpen is as stocked as ever, but nonetheless, yeah. Scott Servais will take it.
No, you will take it. Ramirez, I believe it's 5 quality starts in a row for him now, and he really pitched well yesterday against Houston when you consider their offense. Again, first in average, first in runs scored, slugging, on base percentage, a lot of good numbers for him up and down their lineup. But he pitched well. A couple of solo home runs was it.
Two quick outs. Bregman down swinging.
Good split from Miranda. Typically will throw his split with a couple of strikes. Get good fastball at 92. You can see Mike wants it in the dirt, able to block it, keep it in front of him, as Bregman will chase it. If Miranda is having a good night, you will see that quite a bit from him, working ahead and throwing the split in the dirt.
Facing Jose Altuve, 17 hits shy of his 4th straight 200-hit season. On the first pitch into right field. Haniger near the line, and a 1-2-3 top of the first for Ariel Miranda. Nice start for the Mariners starting pitcher as we go to the home first. Well, Justin Verlander's significant other, Kate Upton, making the trip with him here as he makes his Astros debut. This is a big day for the Astros. They are very excited, as you can imagine, to see Justin Verlander up on the mound making his first start in an Astros uniform. He will face this Mariners lineup.
Segura will lead things off. Kyle Seager yesterday 2 for 4 with his 20th home run in yesterday's ballgame. He will hit 5th. Mitch Haniger really starting to heat up in the last 5 games. 11 for 21 with a couple of home runs. And Mike Zunino will hit 8th. The last 10 games he is hitting .400 with 3 home runs. For Verlander, 28 starts on the year, 10-8 record, a 3.82 ERA in 172 innings pitched. He has 176 strikeouts. Still has a good fastball at 95 miles an hour. Slider and curveball to go with it.
Many of you probably remember the last time we saw Verlander up on the Safeco Field mound. It was looking like it could be a pretty memorable day for Verlander, a guy who has spun 2 no-hitters in his career. He worked 5 perfect innings against the Mariners. High chopper to Bregman. The rest of the defense.
Cameron Maybin, former Angel, now the center fielder for the Astros. Jose Altuve having an MVP season. He will be at second base, and Brian McCann, the veteran, will do the catching.
Of course, it was Gerard Dyson's bunt that came in the 6th inning after Verlander picked up his 10th strikeout that day. Pitching for the Tigers against Paxton. It was Dyson's bunt that got things going for the Mariners. It turned out to be a 3-run inning. The Mariners would come from behind and win that game. It was one of the more memorable wins this season for the Mariners. Alonso back in the lineup today with the right-hander Verlander up on the mound. We mentioned this yesterday, but Jeff Luhnow, the general manager for the Astros, the architect of this team, telling local reporters that the deal at the August 31st deadline for Justin Verlander went through with 2 seconds to spare. And Verlander, for all of his accomplishments, he is right there with Felix for the best right-hander you can make the case of their generation. A Cy Young winner, an MVP in the same year, the 2011 campaign. We mentioned the no-hitters. Has pitched in the World Series, has never won a World Series.
Talk about the deadline and a couple of seconds before Verlander with a no-trade clause, so they had to do some convincing after spending his entire career with the Tigers.
Drafted and developed by Detroit. Such a part of all their success over the last roughly decade or so. And a pretty emotional departure for Verlander. Bregman was swung over on the shift, but it might not matter. This is into the seats.
For Verlander, he has a good fastball tonight. That fastball at 95 miles an hour.
He finished second in the Cy Young voting last season. This coming after a year where a lot of people might thought that Verlander might be done. At least the Verlander of the Cy Young form. The velocity went down for a while. Had some pretty serious core surgery done. Had a setback after that, but my goodness, he came back last year and looked like the Verlander of old.
Again, his velocity is back. Very good slider and curveball combination. Mentioned the outing earlier this year against the Mariners. I thought his curveball was exceptional. Really caused some problems. He started to elevate his fastball. Again, his velocity at times, you'll see 97 miles an hour. And then Dyson was the one that ended up getting him in the stretch. I thought was a big key. He's pitching out of the wind up right now, but they had to do something different. He dropped down a bunt, went into the stretch after that, and then the Mariners were able to score some runs.
Verlander frustrated, a 1-out walk to Alonso.
And the other thing about that outing for Verlander, he had 5 2/3 in that outing. Had 11 strikeouts. Again, had great stuff, but he had to throw 110 pitches. The Mariners were able to get his pitch count up. Another key in that ball game.
We know Scott Service is such a big football fan, and when you mention Dyson making him work out of the stretch, we hear it all the time in football. A quarterback getting moved out of the pocket, moved off of his spot. Well, that's what he said about Verlander, getting him into the stretch, and that was, as you mentioned, such a big part of the success against Verlander, although it was tough sledding for 5 innings. 1 out, 1 on for Cano.
Next to Scott, we saw Edgar standing there. I had a chance to talk to him today, and I just asked him a little scouting report on Verlander. What are you going to talk to the guys about? And he felt that they have to be on the fastball first. He said if he has the good curveball again, even if you're looking for it, it's difficult to square it up. Just don't miss the fastball. We'll see if they're aggressive early in counts. There's a fastball in his hands at 96. I think it's a pretty good approach.
Checking in around the wild card race. Yankees leading the Orioles by a run from Camden Yards in the third early on. Matt Holliday, you can see at the plate. He is now back for the Yankees, coming off the disabled list. It's still somewhat recently that he was activated. Fastball outside, 1-2 to Cano.
Pretty good breaking ball right there. You can see how sharp it is late break. It'll be tough to square it up.
Nice start to this month for Cano. See the 2 home runs this month. He is sitting on 299 career homers. The 2-2. Well, Mike, you were traded in your career. Can you relate to, however, or can you imagine what it must be like for Verlander to spend so much time within one organization, to be such a premier player, then to be traded mid-season, or well, further back than mid-season, of course, and to be such an integral part of your new team?
I think that I really can't, and the reason why is when it happened to me, I was a rookie and I was happy just to get to the big leagues. That's exactly what happened for me, so I was excited about that. For somebody of his stature and what he has meant to an organization for as long as he was there, I would think that there are a lot of other things that have to come into play for him, and the decisions he has to make. Now, the one thing that we know is the Tigers basically traded away their ball club.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a situation where ultimately he wants to be on a winning team. He wants to pitch for something. And looking at the Tigers, wondering how long is it going to be before I'm in that situation again. He's not getting any younger. Still has terrific stuff and having a good year. So I think a lot of those things, probably you think about those things.
His contract runs through 2019.
And, you think about your legacy with an organization and what that would mean to you and how important it is. So I'm sure it was not an easy decision for him.
Good career numbers against the Mariners. 22 starts at 3.15 earned an average. The last start that we were referencing that he had here at Safeco Field against the Mariners, he did not get out of the 6th. It was just the second time in his career he did not pitch at least 6 innings in a start against the Mariners.
This will be the 8th pitch to Robbie.
What a battle. 9th. Yeah.
And we talked about it, pitch count. 17 pitches here in the first, just the 1 out.
This will be at least 10 pitches. Alonso at first after the 1-out walk. Another foul.
And he is seeing everything. A couple of hard sliders right there, along with the fastballs. He's having a good time.
I think the number was 13. Very early this season, Mike Trout versus Felix. Felix eventually got him out. I believe that was a 13 pitch at bat. Couple of future Hall of Famers right here going at it. Pitch number 11. And Verlander, I guess you could say, won. He does get the out. Cadeau makes him work up a lather.
And a lot of fastballs early, and then he goes to the hard slider. He swings right over the top of it.
Mike, you mentioned the Tigers and Alavila trading away basically their entire team, at least their core. How about J.D. Martinez yesterday? Now a member of the Diamondbacks. 4 home runs, the second 4-homer game this year. Scooter Gennett, of all people, with the Reds the other. But what made his so interesting, 4 homers, 4 different pitchers he took deep.
That is impressive in itself. And I believe the last 3 was in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings.
Yes. And 2 the opposite way, which if you see J.D. Martinez, you would have taken the over on that.
Of course. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Alonso still at first after the walk.
And I believe he will be a free agent at the end of the year. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
How about this?
Right-handed power.
He became the 18th player with a 4-homer game. There have been 23 perfect games. There were more perfect games than 4-homer games. We've seen 2 this year. Josh Hamilton was the most recent. That was back in 2012. 1-2. Hard hit to Bregman. Over to Altuve for round number 3. That'll end the first. Verlander throwing nearly 25 pitches, however. We go to the second, scoreless. Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Amtrak Cascades. What a beautiful way to travel. Visit AmtrakCascades.com. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Steel, to find your local Steel dealer, visit SteelDealers.com. And by Country Financial, helping you set up your future. Welcome back inside Safeco Field. 1 inning in the books. Mariners and Astros scoreless. Mike, we know all the fires nearby have made for some interesting playing conditions here today. And our thoughts certainly with all those affected. This has been a tough time in terms of Mother Nature around the country recently. The Astros know a thing or two about that. You were saying today that you actually played a game in some somewhat similar circumstances.
Well, kind of similar. I was actually, I think I was 13 years old, maybe 14, something like that, and I was over in Ephrata, Washington, and Mount St. Helens, and the ash from all of that, it kind of blew across the state, and they ended up putting us all on buses, and we ended up cutting the camp short. But it was strange, it was odd, and it was kind of a little bit strange and odd and eerie on the field today during batting practice, just the way things looked, and you know, you can certainly see it in the air, and it's a tough time right now.
No question about that. Correa leads off the top of the second for the Astros.
Especially for all those over there trying to fight the fires. Be safe.
Pretty impressive first inning for Miranda. Pretty quick first inning as well. Got a strikeout on the splitter to Bregman.
Well, Verlander throwing 24 pitches for Miranda, just 7 pitches, 5 strikes for him.
Yankees really extending their lead 6-1 now in Baltimore. It's good news for the Mariners. Segura charged it out. Heredia comes in to make the catch. 1 down. Well, the Mariners host the Astros tomorrow. Final game of the series. 7:10 our first pitch time. Cedar Grove is providing 5,000 fans with a bag of soil to help tend your home garden. Just visit a Mariners team store or mariners.com for tickets. Find it out today. Andrew Moore will be getting the start tomorrow. Mike Leake pushed back to Friday, game 1 against the Angels. Billy Gurriel, a home run yesterday as a DH today, back at first base. By the way, referencing that Orioles score, they are leading the Mariners by a game in the wild card standings entering today. Mariners 2.5 and back with the Twins and Angels. Miranda behind 2-1.
We were talking about the Tigers. They put it to Kansas City today, 13-2.
Kansas City has been really beat up recently. They had the 17-0 loss to the Twins not long ago.
Former Mariner Jason Vargas had the starts in that game. There's a good pitch, good fastball, inside corner, 93 miles an hour. Talked about that as one of the keys. See the score right there, the final.
Full count. First of its kind so far today for Miranda.
Well, right to the split after getting the second strike. And talked about it. He likes to bounce it up there. Marwin Gonzalez waiting on deck with that one well out in front of home plate.
That Royals score, by the way, relevant because Kansas City tied with the Mariners in the wild card standings. Another fly ball, once again playable. Haniger there for round number 2.
That time I think he went to the changeup, 85 miles an hour on the outside corner.
Two up, 2 down now facing Marwin Gonzalez, the switch hitter batting right-handed. Last year 13 home runs, this year sitting on 21, far and away a career best. Hobbled after fouling off that first pitch.
take a look at it. Looks like a breaking ball, maybe the slider right off of his ankle. He'll walk it off.
Now sometimes we see guys wear shin guards underneath their pant leg, but it did not look like that was the case for Marlin that time.
No, I don't think so, especially with the way that he reacted to it. You mentioned the 21 home runs. Must be a challenge for A.J. Hinch to get him in the lineup. They have such a good ball club, but he can play all over the place. Very good shortstop, can play second, third, first base. We've seen all of that from him, and now he's even getting an opportunity to play in left field today. He can swing it.
Now he has appeared at 6 different positions this year. And really, when you think about Gonzalez in his first half, he had an all-star first half, but that's the issue, right?
Yeah.
Where are you going to play him in the all-star game?
Started this with 296, 21 home runs, 76 RBIs. Kind of like Mark McLemore when he was here. People call him a utility player. He was an everyday player. He would just play all over the place, and same thing with Gonzalez.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it justice, but Mac, as you can see, very close pitch there. Mac has a great line that says something along the fact, I'm not a utility player, I'm just a ball player that plays everywhere any day.
Yeah. It's always good to see him when we go to Arlington.
Absolutely. Gonzalez able to hold back. Back-to-back full counts. We did not see Beltran yesterday in game 1. He's DHing today, stands on deck. Strike 3 call, and he got him. Gonzalez not pleased. That's a strike, though. 6 up, 6 down for Ariel Miranda. A couple of strikeouts along the way. The bottom of the 2nd inning, game 2 against the Astros. We'll take a look now at the Mariners calendar, brought to you by Mattress Firm. This series wraps up tomorrow. Final game of the series. A day off on Thursday, then the homestand wraps up with 3 against the pretty red hot Angels of Anaheim. Then the Mariners are on the road. Both Texas teams. Nice to bunch those 2 teams together in one trip. Then the Mariners back home. We hope to see you out here on Tuesday the 19th. Nice homestand with the Rangers and the Indians.
Talked about it earlier. The Mariners trying to get after the fastball with Verlander. Verlander's topped out at 97 so far. Kyle Seager really hit him well. 368 batting average with a couple of home runs.
The 0-2 to Seager. McCann tracking this, spinning all around, and makes the catch. One down. Little route efficiency there. Take a look at today's T-Mobile Unlimited baseball break. And we just talked about the Indians coming to town later this month. How about this? Last dozen games, 7 runs a game,
wow.
Mike. Hitting .327. This is as good as it gets at an ERA at 1.75.
Run differential at a +63. Yeah, that's pretty good.
You look at what the Indians are doing right now, that 12-game winning streak. Last year they set a club record winning 14 in a row. And if you remember, I believe it was the final game of that win streak came in Toronto, and it was a game that went 16 innings. Trevor Bauer was the next day's starting pitcher. He worked maybe the final 4 innings of that game that they ended up winning. But they become the first team since the early 70s Baltimore Orioles, 70-71 in fact, to have 2 winning streaks of 12 games a pop in consecutive years.
You mentioned it earlier. Well, we probably saw Ken Giles in the game yesterday, even though it wasn't a save opportunity for him, with them being up 4 runs and trying to win as many games as they can, and probably because I'm sure A.J. Hinch is watching what Cleveland is doing, and he wants to stay out in front of them. So not taking any chances.
Ball and 2 strikes to Haniger. Rips through 96. Two up, 2 down. It brings up Ben Gamble. Well, the Mariners getting some good news. Looks like Felix and Paxton both progressing nicely. In the return, they will be having some sim games coming up. And Mike, when you think about Verlander and Paxton, there's some things about Paxton that remind you of Verlander from the standpoint of we've seen different points of James's career where first couple of innings he's 93, 94, progresses 95, and then at the end of the game we see him blowing 96 to 97. We just saw 96 from Verlander, but he was one of these guys for a while that you really saw him build in velocity as the game went on.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I asked Scott Brocious about today. If he was doing basically the same type of thing, and he said no, and we've seen that today. Verlander topping out at 97 in the first inning. But for James, we've definitely seen that from him as he tries to work his way through. And I think for him it's more of a comfort level. At the start of the game, I think he's trying to figure out where he is at, trying to locate his fastball, which is when we're going to see the 93 to 94. And once he feels he has it locked in mechanically, which is a big thing for him, that's when all of a sudden you see the jump to 96 to 98. And once he gets there, he can stay there, which is also similar to Verlander.
Slap the opposite way for a base hit. Rolling all the way to the base of the wall. Ben Gamble, extra bases. He stops at second. First hit today for the Mariners. And a man in scoring position as this ball gets into foul territory over by the camera well, but Gamble stays put.
Mention it. Ben did not start yesterday, getting to start today. Just a fastball in the middle of the plate, probably bell tie. Inside out swing. Solid line drive, gets it through the gap quickly. Well, bring up a hot hitter in Mike Zunino in his last 10 games. A 400 batting average with 3 home runs.
Check in on Gamble. '97 up and in. We talked about Verlander coming out throwing high 90s, and that one in 98. He's not waiting around tonight. Making his Astros debut. Almost same pitch to the first. There it is.
Well, it's interesting too because he's been working towards the bottom of the strike zone. Might a couple of high fastballs.
First time the Mariners have had a runner in scoring position early on tonight. The 1-2. Lays out some more high heat.
Been interesting to watch different teams, but even with Houston, it may have been the center fielder shading towards left center. But Mike, I've talked to him about this. He's thinking more right field, and we've seen a couple of home runs go out towards right center, right field. Big gap in right center field.
He's rung up. Borderline pitch. Clip in the outside corner. 3 strikeouts for Verlander over the first 2 innings. Park of the Park night. We're scoreless. Well, this Saturday is Robinson Cano bobblehead night. As a tip of the cap to the evening salute to Latin American baseball night, Robbie's jersey will feature Marineros across the chest. It's free to the first 20,000 fans, courtesy of Root Sports. Tickets at Mariners.com. Good looking bobblehead right there. Taking on the Angels. That'll be a big series.
pine tar on the jersey.
I'm excited for the Robbie bobblehead that has him making the catch right above his shoulder. Maybe that'll be coming next year. Greg Green, Kevin Martinez, those guys are on it. Miranda to face the bottom third of the order. It begins with Carlos Beltran. Mike, if I recall, the last time we saw Carlos, they were burying his glove in the outfield at Minute Maid Park.
Yeah, they retired it.
I think he was in left field the next day, maybe.
I think it was the next day.
He went almost 2 months without playing in the field. Led by Brian McCann, the Astros had a very nice memorial service for his glove. That was right after the All-Star break.
He's been a really good player for a long time. Imagine you compare his numbers as a switch hitter to switch hitters throughout the game. He is way up there on the list.
Absolutely. One of the best switch hitters, one of the best hitters out of Puerto Rico all time as well. And a game that is right now littered with brilliant young talent we've talked about before from Puerto Rico. Beltran was on Team Puerto Rico in the WBC this year. Zunino chasing after this, but a foul ball.
Along with Diaz, I believe Pagan was on the team too.
He was.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the Indians, Francisco Lindor.
A shortstop, you bet.
And then, of course, you look at the shortstop here for the Astros, Carlos Correa. Javi Baez of the Cubs. The list goes on and on. Near the line, but foul. Red Hot Angels, they lead early in the third against the Athletics. Mike Trout has walked in that game. That was his club record walk in 13 consecutive games. He has been on base all the time. Now,
oh boy.
Rob Nodine's got service, and Miranda clearly uncomfortable.
I'm not sure what happened, but Robbie noticed something from second base, and he ran to the mound right away. And next thing we knew, Miranda bent over at the waist. Maybe it's an ankle. If you turned an ankle, sometimes you miss that landing spot on the mound. You hit the side of that hole that they end up digging out. Yeah, he almost slipped forward a little bit on it.
I think he just kind of rolled over that a little, Mike.
He slipped forward, and sometimes I've seen guys hyperextend their knee a little bit because of that. And there you can see him.
He says he's all right. That's a good sign. Scott buying it.
Yep. Convinced him.
And when those three guys are walking together right there, that's never a good thing. It's not a good sign, but it looks like everything will be all right.
And this will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat. A good fastball at 93, just off the outside corner. split. So Miranda, who threw 7 pitches in the first inning total, this will be the 10th pitch. Beltran.
Beltran leading off the third. Leadoff walk.
Come on, changeup.
Brings up McCann. Mariners put the shift on for him. McCann, a home run in yesterday's game. Stares at strike one. Astros come into today's game having won 5 in a row now. After really a brutal month of August, their first losing month of the season. In fact, the worst month of any team in the division. A weak chop foul, 0-2.
Talked about it. They've added Verlander. Now Correa back from the disabled list. Pretty good player himself. Certainly helped.
Well, he was out for nearly 50 games.
Yeah.
Three pitches, all strikes. McCann, punch out number 3 for Miranda.
Take a look at it. That's the slider. He hasn't thrown many, but left-handed hitter up there ahead in the count, goes to the slider, down out of the strike zone.
One out, one on for Cameron Maybin. The Astros have the top 2 base stealers in the American League. Altuve leading the pack and Maybin right behind him. 2 guys you do not like to see on base. 1-1.
Pretty good job trying to pitch inside. We thought that was going to be a key for him. His fastball has been good, 91 to 93 miles an hour. Probably noticed he always starts with the split grip as he puts it in his glove and is taking his signs. So when he does that, he doesn't want the hitter to see him digging for the split. He wants to already have it because it's much easier to go from that to a fastball or a changeup without giving it away, tipping it off.
Couple of walks this inning. Very close pitch that time. All 4. 2 on, 1 down. We'll take a look at our CenturyLink What's Next tomorrow. Final game of the series. Andrew Moore making his return to the rotation for the Mariners. His 7th career major league start. We'll be taking on Lance McCullers. You know, Mike, we were talking about a tough month of August for the Astros. McCullers will be making his first start tomorrow in 38 days. Spent some time on the disabled list. He's been banged up over the course of his young career. Mariners really got to him last time when he was coming off the DL at that point. Chance again tomorrow.
And the one thing that we know, as you mentioned, seeing him last time coming off the disabled list, he's still going to throw his breaking ball. He has one of the best breaking balls in the business, and he's going to throw it a lot.
2 on for Springer.
Let's see how many pitches A.J. Hinch will let him throw tomorrow.
Needless to say, a little uncomfortable with Springer at the plate with 2 on. This was a team that you could ballpark at about the All-Star break. Legitimately had 3 players that you could say were complete, maybe frontline candidates for the MVP. Springer, Altuve, Correa. Now, since then, Altuve the only one to stay healthy the full season. Almost got him. 2-1. Both runners on base, reaching on ball 4. Miranda behind here to Springer. Even more so now.
And we talked about he's going to have to make a quality pitch right here. Springer, 31 home runs on the year as a leadoff hitter. He has 4 home runs in his career against Miranda. It's the situation that he needed to stay away from, walking a couple of batters in front of him.
The bases are loaded with walks. Mike, is it fair to wonder if that ankle is okay?
Well, I think Mel Stottlemyre Jr. is going to go out there and find out if it is bothering him. Retired the first 6 batters to start the game off, and struggling here in this inning with his fastball command.
Now things get a little scarier now. Bregman, who's swinging a very hot bat right now, and then of course Altuve to follow.
Part of it too is Miranda is a fly ball pitcher, so getting the double play isn't always the easiest thing.
Now just looking at that, 9 double play balls behind Miranda. This is 28th start. Has happened, but does not happen on a regular basis. You can counter that to someone we saw last night, an extreme ground ball pitcher, Dallas Keuchel. Keuchel had 2 turned behind him last night, 19 on the season for Keuchel, so 10 more than Miranda and significantly fewer starts. Bregman with the bases loaded, 1 out. First pitch strike. And it was Bregman with the go-ahead 2-run double in the 7th in yesterday's game. Next pitch will be number 25 of this inning. Oh, 2.
Now this is when he'll really have to trust Mike. He wants to throw his split, and typically he'll throw it in the dirt. The base is loaded. It'll be up to Mike to keep the ball in front of him if that's the pitch that he's going to throw. And there it is.
Ryan Garten beginning to warm up, or at least stretch out. Bases loaded, 1 out, top of the 3rd. Glove down the line, left field. This ball is a foul ball. Chance to exhale. Another 1-2. You know, Mike, I do wonder, and it's different, have to imagine, for every pitcher. Every guy's different, but at what pitch count in an inning does that fatigue really start to settle in? Miranda is now pushing 30 pitches this inning alone.
Yeah, I think that he's starting to probably feel that. Again, it depends on the pitcher, probably how deep into the game he is too. Later in the game, you start to get an inning where you're throwing a lot of pitches. You're going to feel it more because you're going to lose your legs quicker. So it's a good fastball, 93 on that fastball.
Haniger into the corner, and Haniger makes the catch out of our view. Turns out to be a sacrifice fly. Beltran crosses. First run of the ball game crosses home. Our Big Fish Casino big catch. Well, this will be our first look at it, Mike.
Yeah. We lost him down in the corner. Just right up against the fence. A lot of carry to that fly ball. Had to give a little bit of ground towards the end, but stays with it.
Other two runners move up a station. Springer to second, now Maybin to third. Ball one brushes back Altuve.
And 30 pitches in the inning. 7 in the first, 18 in the second, now 30 here in the third.
Altuve dangerous everywhere, but especially this year on the road. Our AARP getting to know Altuve. We'll take a look at 5 players to have a road batting average of at least 400. And Altuve, the most recent since Ichiro back in 04. Stan the man, the best ever, 415 on the road for the Redbirds in 48. Over to Seager, and what looked like could be a very dangerous inning ends up costing Miranda just one single run and maybe a little bit of a bum ankle. We'll go to the bottom of the third. Astros on top. Through 2.5. MLB.com at bat is your #1 mobile app for live Mariners baseball. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience. Get Mariners home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, StatCast news, and much more. Download MLB.com at bat today. Heredia leads off the home third. Looks at ball one from Verlander. Verlander's given up 1 hit through 2 innings. That was a double by Gamble in the second. Gamble left stranded at second base. Playable to shallow left center field. Maybin wants it. And the Astros' new center fielder makes the catch. 1 down. First time through the order for Verlander. Just the 1 hit, 1 walk. Now facing Seager for the second time. A ball, a strike.
Maybin, the center fielder, over in right center. Really expecting him to hit the ball the other way in the air. Big gap in left center field. See how far over he is.
And 95 at the knees, and now some conversation inside the home dugout, it looks like. On the ground to Altuve. Flattens out for him. There is out number 2. As always, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. 2 up, 2 down now for Yonder Alonso. One of only 2 men to reach so far against Verlander. A 1-out walk back in the first. We play the third. Looks at ball 1. Now, if you include his numbers with the A's, his season total numbers, Alonso tied with Nelson Cruz for the best on-base percentage this year for the Mariners. And a lot of those numbers coming against right-handers like Verlander.
And having his best year as far as home runs, 25 home runs.
Best year by far in that category.
3 of them with Seattle.
Time called. Astros have the shift on for Alonso.
Really haven't seen a lot of that. Verlander working with McCann for the first time. Him shaking him off that much. It really hasn't happened.
On a line over Altuve. Now, when you think that 20 feet deep in right field is deep enough, maybe you need to go 24 feet deep.
A solid line drive. Good pitch on the outside corner. Stays on it. Solid line drive.
So Alonso reaching base twice in as many tries. Altuve, Gold Glove winner. Tying run at first to go ahead at the plate. Cano. An 11-pitch battle his last time up, ended up striking out facing Verlander. Looks at strike 1 here.
now with a runner on. The velocity goes back up. He was 93, 94. All of a sudden, the first pitch to Robbie, 96 miles an hour.
Line pass, Bregman into left field. Mariners stacked a couple of base runners for the first time. Back-to-back two-out singles.
Well, 11 pitches in the first at bat. Right here, change up on the second pitch of the AB. A solid line drive. Really has been a hot hitter for the Mariners. Great sign.
See what Nelson Cruz could do here with the man in scoring position. 2 on, 2 out. Nelson leading the league in RBIs. Does have a home run in his career against Verlander. And a pretty ridiculous 352 as you just saw with runners in scoring position.
It's not just hitting the ball out of the ballpark. 31 home runs on the year. He comes up with a lot of big base hits.
Ground ball. Altuve quickly off to his left. Gobbles it up. The Mariners strand 2, and their threat comes to a close to end the third. Tonight, his 28th start this season for the Mariners. And so far, 1 run over 3 frames. A few strikeouts sprinkled in. A little bit of a scare with what looked to be an ankle injury. Was visited by Rob Nodine, by Scott Service, by Mel Stottlemyre Jr. as well. Looked like he was okay, although there were a couple of walks mixed in there.
A couple of walks, but his velocity was still pretty good. Sacrifice fly scored the 1 run. Able to get a ground out after that. Back out there, appears to be fine.
They'll face Carlos Correa to lead off the top of the 4th.
few times he started a hitter off with a changeup, 83 miles an hour.
One of the scary things about this Astros team, look at a young player like Correa, is that now this year, the Astros, following this year, I should say, really the only guys that they will risk losing to free agency. Carlos Beltran, a free agent at year's end. Luke Gregerson in their bullpen, free agent as well. Weak ground ball. Zunino spins, throws a rocket onto first base in time to nab Correa for round number 1.
I think Mike is as good as anybody at this play. Pretty athletic as a catcher, gets out from behind home plate and just a quick spin. There's the key. Field it cleanly, gets rid of it quickly and throws him out by a step.
Pretty slick play. But this is an Astros team that will have basically everyone back next year as well. We mentioned Verlander under contract through 2019. These Astros aren't going anywhere.
Altuve, their star, club friendly contract for him, so they're in good shape.
Astros last made the postseason 2 years ago when they won the wild card game in New York. Dallas Keuchel said to us that he thinks this year's team is just light years better than that year's team, and we asked AJ Hinch the same question and he said, oh, absolutely, not even close, which is pretty scary when you consider that was an awfully good Astros team. But I think most people would agree as you look at the win total for the Astros this year, the winningest team in the league, the best the Astros have been in a long while. A painful rebuild, but it has been worth it for the most part. Ben May doing a little housekeeping. Now Miranda looking for a pretty quick and tidy 4th inning after throwing 32 pitches in that 3rd. Strikeout Gonzalez in the 2nd. We'll face him next.
Another long at bat. This will be the 8th pitch.
Strike 3 called. He freezes him. 4 strikeouts for Ariel Miranda tonight. 2 outs in the 4th.
And there you go. It's a split. 81 miles an hour. Typically he'll try to bounce it. That one ends up throwing for a strike. Usually he tries to get the hitter to chase his split.
So you look at the trends, Mike, for Miranda, and it's probably pretty fair to say that especially for a familiar opponent like the Astros, they know with 2 strikes they're going to see the splitter. But there must be something about that pitch that makes it still so difficult, even if you know it's coming.
I think it's because he pitches inside just enough, and it's one of the keys to this game, especially with all the right-handed hitters that they have. And with a fastball that is at 91 to 93 miles an hour, you have to respect it. And if he's locating in, it's difficult to square it up. What happens with him, sometimes he'll make his mistakes out over the plate, but tonight he's been pretty good inside, and so they have to respect that, and it's difficult And I think it's especially true with Houston because they're an aggressive hitting club by nature, and I think they want to hit the fastball. When it comes out of his hand, it looks like a fastball. By the time you recognize it, it's too late.
Two outs for this 2-1. Not missing by much. Beltran has scored the only run of this game. On deck. Now the pitch count up there for Miranda. That lengthy third, the culprit. Looking for a 1-2-3 fourth. Here comes the payoff to Gonzalez. The fourth walk today.
Did not want to throw him a fastball. 3-1 was an off-speed pitch and ends up blocking him on what looked like another changeup, probably down out of the strike zone. About 32 pitches in the third inning for Miranda. It started with Beltran, who's stepping in, ended up blocking, but he saw a number of pitches in his first at bat.
That was a 10-pitch plate appearance for Beltran. Time called. Zunino going out to the mound. Falls behind here 1-0. Has walked 4 of the last 9 hitters now. Now falling behind 3-0. And Miranda's been able to limit the damage so far through nearly 4 full innings, but it has not been easy, with the exception of that 7-pitch first inning. Did retire the side in order in the second, but since then it's been a struggle.
If you look at his splits are not good. 79 pitches, 43 strikes for him.
In danger of his second straight 2-out walk. Full count. McCann with 14 home runs on deck.
This pitch count at 80. The bullpen will get some work tonight. It's the 4th inning, 80 pitches.
Here comes the 3-2. Should end the inning. Segura backpedaling with one hand. That walk to Gonzalez left stranded. We go to the bottom of the 4th. We'll be seeing Kyle Seager, followed by Mitch Haniger, and then the man with the double earlier tonight, Ben Gamble. Coors Light Cold Hard Facts. Active 20 home run season streaks. A couple of Mariners on the list. Nelson Cruz at the top, and then Kyle Seager yesterday. 20th home run, 6 consecutive season. Pretty cool stuff.
Oh, it's really good. And for Kyle, we've talked about it. It's how consistent he has been in his career as a Mariner. It just continues for him. Already 30 doubles this year, too, along with the 20 home runs.
It is Seager to lead things off in the home fourth.
Kyle came into the game with good numbers against Verlander, 368 average with a couple of home runs.
Shift is on for him. We saw the same alignment yesterday, Mike, with Bregman not only halfway between second and third, but the interesting thing, and of course now he's moving, but the interesting thing was that he was in on the grass, which I can't remember a shift quite like that against Seager this year.
No, I can't either. Sometimes they will do that if there isn't a strike on him. I'm worried about him trying to drop down a bunt, which he will do from time to time.
Pretty extreme splits for Verlander. You can see what he had done at Comerica this year versus on the road. This is his Astros debut. Wonder how much of a difference that will be for Verlander this year and going forward for the Astros. You think about Comerica, Minute Maid Park. Comerica is so spacious.
Yeah.
Minute Maid, not quite as spacious as it was in years past because of Taos Hill, but that's a pretty home run happy ballpark.
That's a hitter's ballpark. I don't think there's any question about it.
That's what made Keuchel's run in that Cy Young season so incredible. He was undefeated at home, and this was not a situation where wins not telling the whole story. He was really just flat out dominant, and he had the comment the following year that there were big parts of the ballpark, there were small parts of the ballpark, and he managed to pitch to the big parts. Which seems like it's easier said than done.
And I'll also look right at his ground ball rate, and that plays in any ballpark.
That plays everywhere. You're right. That's a good point.
One of the best ground ball pitchers in the game.
Lengthy battle here for Seager to begin the bottom of the fourth.
It seems that there have been a lot of at-bats that have gone that way tonight.
A mile high. Does it have the distance, though? Springer looking up, and it does. This is a tied game. Number 21 for Kyle Seager. Back-to-back games at the Astros' expense. We are even at 1. Some Nelson Cruz-esque hang time for Seager.
And a towering home run on the breaking ball, left it in the middle of the plate. Kyle's third home run off of Verlander in his career. Now 21 home runs for Kyle. Back-to-back games with a home run for him. His home run yesterday also tied the game. He knows that sound.
He might know the sound, Mike, but I'll tell you what, that was so high off the bat. You wondered if then had the chance to get out. That was, you don't see Seager hit moonshots quite that high.
No, you really don't. But I think we're watching the replay of it. The way Kyle ended up trotting out of the box, I think he had a pretty good idea that he had enough.
Really, not to make too big of a point of it, but to think about his home run yesterday and the home run tonight. These are two not quite totally typical Seager home runs, right? I mean, the one yesterday we saw was more towards center field than it was to right, and this one had a parachute strapped on it. Foul ball.
Still has a good fastball, 98 miles an hour.
Mike, can I tell you, when I went to the clubhouse today, right to the right, you can see Gordon Beckham right there. Gordon was playing pool with Yonder Alonso, and at first blush, I thought Ben Gamble wasn't in the lineup, and he cut his hair. I can't believe Gamble cut his hair. And then Beckham turned around. Tell you what, though, from across the room, those two looked like practical twins at first blush. Beckham, the former first-round draft pick. There he is. Now Ben, give him the beard going again. I should have known, Mike.
You should have known.
I should have known.
Yeah.
Why would Ben ever do that, such a thing? This is shot high out towards left center, but Maybin is tracking it down. One down. Well, this Sunday, the Mariners and Sounders both take on division foes. Emerald City sports fans can catch the Mariners game and the Sounders match for $50. Plus, get a special edition doubleheader T-shirt. For details, just visit mariners.com/Sounders. Sounds like a good deal. Here is Gamble to double off of Verlander in the second. You mentioned that curveball being a key for Verlander today, and Edgar talking about kind of that dictating things. Got a good feel for it yet?
I think he's been more slider today than curveball, although there's a curveball right there at the bottom of the strike zone, and a pretty good one, but he's thrown his slider more here early. And I think probably because he has such a good fastball tonight, again topping out at 98 miles an hour.
Two outs following the Seager leadoff homer to tie the game at 1. Here is Zunino. And on the hands in 97. Last time we saw Verlander going up and in to Zunino almost every pitch.
Both starting pitchers having to throw a lot of pitches. Miranda 81 pitches through 4 innings. Verlander now at 76. We talked about it though. Went 5 2/3 against the Mariners earlier this year. He had to throw 110 pitches to get there.
Another 0-2. That'll end the inning. Another 97-mile-an-hour fastball from Verlander. But Kyle Seager taking him deep to begin this bottom of the 4th. Seager home runs in consecutive games against the Astros. Again, tying it up. We're even through 4. Sports is brought to you by CHI Franciscan Health, the Mariners' official partners in health. Learn to stay Northwest healthy at nwhealthy.org. By Safeco Insurance, find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. And by your local Toyota dealers. For all Toyota offers, go to buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Even at 1 through 4 innings. Seager's 21st home run tying this one up. Astros lone run coming on a Alex Bregman sac fly. McCann going after the first pitch, strike 1. Looking at Miranda tonight, Mike, reminding us of him coming over at the deadline from the Orioles for Wade Miley, and Miley is now a part of a 6-man rotation with the Orioles. Buck Showalter going that direction. A team that is obviously right there in the mix with the Mariners for the wild card, a game and a half out entering today.
Do you think that is something that more teams will consider?
And it's funny reading the reactions from Orioles starters trying to have a fairly team-friendly response, right? At least in print, you can tell they're all kind of like, well, I do have a routine, you know. I just kind of get the sense as this is flicked out towards Cano, right place, right time, and a Globetrotter toss over to Segura. Kind of get the sense that even though it might be beneficial to starters on paper from a workload standpoint, that guys are just so married to their routine. They've been doing this their whole careers.
At one point you went from a 4-man rotation to a 5. They probably were saying the same thing.
No doubt.
You mentioned Baltimore. We just saw Jim Palmer. I don't think he would be excited to be a part of the 6-man rotation. What do you think?
So there's some teams that are just trying to find 5 starting pitchers, let alone 6.
That's exactly right. To find 5 guys of quality at this level is difficult.
He goes 0-2.
But I wonder too, part of the thinking is if they're going to have that extra day, maybe you can let somebody like James Paxton go 120 in an outing because he's going to have an extra day of rest.
Looks like a close pitch, and it was. I think it's tricky too when you have an off day sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
Not that that's a backbreaker, but it's something to consider.
You probably at that point.
There it is.
There it is. You would probably keep your 1 and 2 starters on that 6 days, right? So I guess your 6th starter would get bumped because of the off day. Another off speed pitch right around 80-81 miles an hour on the outside corner. We'll see how it goes the rest of the way for Baltimore.
Now 90 pitches facing Springer for the 3rd time.
A good changeup. Changeup has been at the bottom of the strike zone, split down out of the strike zone. Good fastball, pitching inside. Split down out of the strike zone.
Miranda behind 2-1. Miranda in danger of issuing his 5th walk. His 3-1. And there it is. Second walk to Springer. Get Saturday train and Link Light Rail tickets right to your phone. Riding is easy with the Transit Go ticket app.
I think maybe Miranda aware of the numbers with George Springer. Against Springer, 31 home runs in the leadoff spot, but 4 home runs in his career against Miranda. He's very careful with him this evening. Aaron mentioned a couple of walks. Garden up for the second time. Bregman stepping in. He's driven in the 1 run with a sacrifice fly to right.
Another throw to first base.
Well, Houston will run. They are 4th in stolen bases in the American League, primarily because of Altuve and Maybin.
Right back up the middle, and it gets a piece of Miranda. Miranda's been a little dinged up a couple of times today, but for Miranda, 5 innings, nothing but walks, no hits. We go to the bottom of the 5th. For tonight's game, 14,568. Middle game of the series. Astros winning last night. This one tied at 1 as we start the bottom of the 5th. Verlander versus Heredia. Ball 1.
Heredia flew out to center field his first time up. Mariners 1 run on 4 hits. Solo home run by Kyle Seager. His 21st on the year.
Indians winning their 13th in a row. Jose Ramirez, who started the All-Star game at third base for the American League,
Yes.
has been playing at second base with Jason Kipnis injured on the disabled list. Andrew Miller on the disabled list as well. Maybe the most feared reliever in the American League. Maybe, if not him. And it's a very short list. So they are on an absolute tear despite being somewhat shorthanded. And I couldn't help but laugh when I heard Terry Francona and kind of the Indians overall say how much they liked Ramirez at second base when he started at third base in the All-Star game in an era which has been referred to as the golden age of third baseman.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree with that.
He hit 2 home runs tonight. Ramirez had a couple of home runs the other day at Comerica, one that bounced twice on top of the fence in left field.
Is that right?
It bounced twice. And unfortunately, Mikey Mott took the left fielder that day for the Tigers. Sadly, now in his defense, he's never seen that before. Neither has anyone else in the history of baseball.
I'm sure.
He tried to barehand it and essentially went to Kimbe Mutombo and just blocked it over the wall for a home run, which was too bad for his sake. Worked out for Ramirez.
How does the ball bounce on top of the fence a couple of times like that?
I think we're all asking that question. It was amazing. Strike 3 call.
Like the closest thing that I could think of to that was I saw Mike Piazza hit a ball in dead center field. I think it was in Cincinnati. Could have been Philadelphia. And the center fielder was jumping up to try to steal the home run off of his glove on top of the fence, and it rolled along the top of the fence and then finally fell over. Yeah. So I guess it can happen.
Well, you never know what you'll see when you come to the ballpark. Here is Segura with 1 out.
A couple of ground outs for Gene. And Maybin over towards right center field again, really shading that way.
Up and in. The appeal on the check swing does not go. Getting out of play, first base side, Gurriel for a look. You know, Mike, if you look into that 2011 season for Verlander, when he won the Cy Young and the MVP, there are a couple of things that are pretty remarkable that I'm not sure we'll ever see again. First of all, you and I have talked about this before. He threw 250 innings. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. He's the most recent to ever do that. That was in 11. It's going to take a lot to see a guy spend 250 innings again.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right about that.
Segura behind 1-2. Springer charges now. Angles over towards the chalk for out number 2. Time for our Geico this date in big league history. Back to 1989. Deion Sanders hits his second career big league homer against the Mariners, and then a week later in his NFL debut took a punt to the house, 68 yards. Mike, a former teammate of yours. Pretty incredible.
Deion Sanders. Well, that was in the Kingdome, and I remember, I can't remember what inning it was, but it seemed early, like the 5th inning or something like that, that he was, maybe it was even 4th, that he was starting to talk about it, and we were starting to wonder what was going on with him. And he eventually left the game, high-fiving everybody on the bench on his way out, runs into the clubhouse, and as you mentioned, the next day he's scoring a touchdown.
Alonso with 2 outs. Hey, but getting back to Verlander, 34 starts that year. when he won the Cy Young. He never threw fewer than 100 pitches. He never went fewer than 6 innings, which to me says, think about even a guy like Kluber, or even when Felix was winning a Cy Young and nearly won a second. I mean, isn't every starter given a mulligan at least once a season?
You would think so.
I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah, you
4
would
and a
think
third.
So. Yeah, you would think
80
so.
pitches. Didn't happen for Verlander. Pretty remarkable. Side retired in order. Astros even at 1. Create a lifetime memory for your kids when you bring them to this Sunday's KeyBank run around the bases following the Mariners-Angels game. All youngsters 14 and under will be invited to circle the diamond just like their favorite Mariners. You can visit mariners.com for tickets. Mike, you were looking at innings numbers during the break, and Mike, you were noticing that even some guys who are leading the league right now in innings probably won't get to 250.
Well, yeah, when you were talking about that, I was thinking, well, Chris Sale, I mean, would he have 200 strikeouts at the break?
Right.
So I'm thinking he has to be close to that. Just 189. Leads the American League, but 189. He probably has, depending on what Boston wants to do, 3 or 4 more starts. And Samardzija leading the National League, same thing, 189. So they're not going to get close to 250. Now, do you think that's because of bullpens, or do you think it's because of the value of starting pitching? Or maybe a combination.
I think by and large it's because of bullpens.
I think so too.
Altuve on the first pitch to Segura. Quick out to begin the 6th. You know, if you go back to last year, in the history of baseball, and this is not surprising at all, we saw the fewest number of 200 inning pitchers. Mike, there were 15 200 inning pitchers last year.
Wow, and it's something that I've talked about a lot, but you know, you go back to Felix in the run of innings that he was putting together year after year after year.
There was only one 200 inning pitcher last year from within the division. That was Cole Hamels, 202 thirds of an inning. He got there. Now keep in mind, Iwakuma came within an out,
right,
essentially, of being a 200 inning pitcher. So nearly 16. Ball and a strike to Correa.
That was pretty good. Looked like she was sitting on the wall, holding her stool, and then reaches up and makes the catch. Yeah. Oh, she's standing behind it. Oh, pretty good catch.
It's well done.
Yeah. He gave the ball away.
This is why there are pretty strenuous tryouts to be a ball girl. I mean, this is no joke.
They're pretty good here.
100 pitches now for Miranda.
Yep.
Omar Vizquel up on the mound tonight for the Mariners.
I thought maybe he had learned something from the way the last inning stopped, as you can see it right there. No problem at all. But he had the ball hit back at him, went off the side of his hand. And Cano made the play, but no problem.
That's pretty slick.
That being said, Mel Stottlemyre will probably talk to him about that. And again, it's just a reaction, but he would like for him to think about that. He don't want him to get hurt.
And that was an extreme example, but I don't think Miranda gets enough credit, Mike. He is a pretty slick fielder.
He is a really good athlete. We talked about it before. You watch batting practice and he's out in the outfield shagging. He looks like a major league outfielder out there when he really is playing hard.
And something that so many pitchers have such a problem with, throwing to bases with the full authority. Right. He gets the ball on the third base side. He's throwing 95 to first base.
Yep. Good athlete.
It's a strike over. Ties a season high 6 walks. Lost him with 2 outs. And the pitch count mounting to 107.
Let him go at least one more hitter. The season high is 105. That was against Tampa back in June. That was a complete game.
We'll see how this at-bat turns out for Miranda, but you look at the numbers for Gonzalez. The switch hitter has had far less success against lefties than right-handers. But it is odd to see Scott sticking with the starter with this close of a game. But the go-ahead run at first base. And some arms in the pen.
Well, again, this will be the last hitter, I'm sure.
What was your count, Mike, on both sides combined bullpen arms for this game today? Was it were you at 19?
I think it was 19. Yes. Plenty of arms, Aaron.
Another 0-2.
Stand corrected. 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both sides prepared for anything.
I think so.
That third inning, the long one for Miranda. 32 pitches. Two outs, the 0-2. Lined into left field. Here comes Gamble making the catch. How about this start for Ariel Miranda? This was a little bit odd one. 6 no-hit innings with 6 walks, a run coming on a sacrifice fly. Is brought to you by Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. By Jack in the Box, come try the new Smoky Jack Burger or Chicken Sandwich, limited time only. By CenturyLink, connecting you to the power of the digital world. And by BNSF Railway, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. Verlander at 90 pitches, tied at 1 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Handshake,
yeah, from
Scott Service. Miranda picking up his first quality start since the final days of July.
Season high 112 pitches. Did not give up a hit, but the 6 walks really hurt his pitch count.
Well, I haven't looked up yet, Mike, in Mariners history, but in big league history, when you think about 6+ innings of no-hit ball with 6 walks, Mike, this is not a typical pitching line that you see.
No.
The orangutan, Aaron Harang, back in 2014 when pitching with the Braves, the last to do it. So this is not a common occurrence at all. First time since 14 a big league starter has done that. Still 0-2 on Cano.
The 6 walks, 3 of them in 1 inning, and then the sacrifice fly to score the 1 run for Houston.
Floating foul. Well, Mike, it has happened before in Mariners history. Go at least 6 with no hits and 6 walks. It was Randy Johnson's no-hitter of the Tigers. 1990.
I would be curious on how many pitches he threw in that one.
138.
There you go.
Right back off of Verlander. Verlander appears to be okay, at least for the time being. That was smoked right back at him.
Yeah, solid shot.
This is not what the Astros were hoping to see for their newest weapon. Off the wrist, maybe?
Or the ribs. Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. Talked about Cano and how hot he has been. A couple of hits, including this line drive. Chance to throw a couple of pitches. He's ready.
Now walk us through it, Mike.
I was pretty impressed with his reaction overall.
Yeah, and that's going to bring up, there must be a adrenaline surge that keeps you in it for a couple of seconds, and then once everything calms, that might start to set in a little bit. Get Upton making the trip here to Seattle.
No, that's exactly right, but he didn't flinch or didn't seem to bother him at all, which is hard to believe.
Go ahead, run aboard. Here is Nelson Cruz. First pitch, slice past Altuve. Back-to-back base hits to open up the home 6th.
Well, once A.J. Hinch, the manager, ended up back in the dugout for Houston, Musgrove started to get loose in the bullpen. Back-to-back base hits for the Mariners. Another inside-out swing by Nelson Cruz. Jams him a little bit, but fights it off into right field, in a good situation for the Mariners.
Now this is interesting now. Kyle Seager steps inside the batter's box. A home run to tie the game of the 4th. This game 2 of the series, Seager has driven in each run this series for the Mariners. Drove in both yesterday, has driven in the lone run today, has a chance to drive in the go-ahead run here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Fastball in the middle of the plate. I mentioned him driving in the 3 runs, 2 of them on a couple of solo home runs, so homering in back-to-back games. Now 21 home runs on the year, and hit that one out of the ballpark. Fastball in the middle of the plate.
Cano at second, Cruz at first. Near the line, Gurriel throws down to second. Correa to first base in time for the double play. Cano, the last man standing at third.
Firmly, but right at him. Pretty good by Verlander over there in plenty of time, but that's a good fastball from Correa, the shortstop from Houston. Not many opportunities for the Mariners to drive in a run tonight. 0 for 3. Runners in scoring position.
Next pitch, number 100. Miranda, quality start, 1 run over 6. After taking that line drive off the wrist and the ribs, it looked like combined. Nothing wrong with the velocity, at least for Verlander. Handed her a chance to give the Mariners the lead. The 1-2 lays off. Mariners made Verlander throw 24 pitches in the first inning. One of the main reasons why his pitch count is over 100 with 2 outs in the 6th.
Cano with 11 pitches in his at bat. Now a couple of hits for Robbie.
Strike 3 call. Haniger knows it. How about that from Verlander? He finishes the night at 99 miles an hour, just above the knees. a look at our Columbia Bank difference of the game, and tonight that is this man, Ariel Miranda. Had the 6 walks, Mike, but 6 innings, very effective, did not allow a hit, and the only run on a sacrifice fly.
Effectively wild, Aaron?
I guess so. That's not
6 walks, did not give up a hit.
it.
Yeah, but it worked for him. I think if you would have told Scott before the game that he was going to go 6 innings and give up just the 1 run, he would have taken it. And some defense, too. Pretty casual on that.
The final line.
Yeah. There it is, 6 innings, did not give up a base hit, the 1 run, 3 walks in 1 inning and a sacrifice fly. 6 walks overall, 5 strikeouts, 112 pitches, 68 of those for strikes.
Gives way to the bullpen. Our Beacon Plumbing call to the pen. James Pazos up on the mound now for the Mariners. 50
appearances on the year, a 3.47 ERA, 58 strikeouts and 49 1/3. Good number for him. Opponent's hitting just .243. Good fastball. 95 to 97 miles an hour with a slider.
Although we have seen Pazos get loose in the bullpen over the last week or so, this is his first time pitching in 6 days. Pretty fresh arm. First pitch, Beltran. Segura covering some territory, but it's Gambles. Quick out number 1.
Got the left-hander Pazos on the mound. Emilio Pagan, right-hander for the Mariners, getting loose in the pen.
We were talking about that Randy Johnson no-hitter against the Tigers. The only other time that a Mariners starter had pitched 6 innings, at least 6 innings of no-hit ball while walking 6. And Mike, we learned of a tremendous story about that no-hitter earlier this year when we had a chance to catch up with one of the greats, Jack Morris. Morris was on that Tigers team. Now, was not pitching in that game, a game in the Kingdom. And Jack, like a starter would, that's not pitching that day, enjoying the game from the dugout.
Right.
And as probably a lot of people remember seeing that highlight many, many times of the final out, Randy threw a fastball to Mike Heath, which was, I had the tracer back then, Mike, but I would say it was maybe 2 feet above the strike zone.
At 100.
Right. And when the game was over with, Jack Morris was staying inside the Tigers dugout as a lot of his teammates had cleared inside the clubhouse. They really didn't have much use for the celebration going on in the Kingdom to celebrate Randy's no-hitter against him. But Jack was interested in watching things as McCann gets aboard. And Mike Heath, who struck out to end the game, sat down to Jack Morris in the dugout. They were really the only 2 guys left. And Mike looked over to Jack and said, "Jack, I almost had that pitch. I almost got it." And Jack looked at him and said, "Mike, you weren't even close." Funny the things that you think you see when you're inside the batter's box facing Randy Johnson. Pitching change. Maybin coming out. 1 out and a man aboard. Tied in the 7th. here at Safeco Field. Jeff Blum, the Mike Flowers for the Astros, their color analyst, the catcher of a combined no-hitter for the Astros back in 2003. That was back in June of 2003. Todd Callis, the TV play-by-play man, next to him. As we take a look at Emilio Pagan, who takes over for Pazos, who worked at third of an inning, also issued a walk.
And has pitched well for the Mariners. ERA just over 3, 43 strikeouts and 41 innings pitched. Opponents hitting just .216. Fastball right around 95 miles an hour and a slider.
Maybin has drawn one of the 7 Astros walks in this game tonight. Fouled back as McCann was taken off. Derek Fisher is our pinch runner at first base, an outfielder of the future for the Astros.
Fisher has good speed. Already tried to steal. Houston is an athletic group to begin with. Maybin can run. Springer, who's waiting on deck, also runs well.
A long hold from Pagan. Another move to first. You talk about a marathon. I wonder how many relievers they've got there. Top of the 17th. Blue Jays at Fenway Park. Red Sox scored their 2 runs in the 9th to send it to extras. Foul over the screen. Red Sox have used 10 pitchers in that game, by the way. Fisher leads at first, pinch running for McCann. Way outside, Zunino, a throw down to first.
Every now and then I like to see the catcher throw down like that, even though Mike could tell that he probably wasn't going to get him, but it keeps him from getting too big a secondary lead. Pay attention.
Trying to keep him close. Saws him off all the way into left field. Seager able to get out of the way, but that got to him quickly.
That's right on his hands, in off the plate.
A future auction item right there.
You're probably right.
Go ahead run at first base with some speed. Pagan well aware. Angels on top in the Coliseum, 6-5 now. That looked close.
He has a good slider. He wanted to throw it off the plate, was able to hit the spot, just couldn't get him to chase it.
Full count. You know, Maybin, you would think with his speed would be a pretty tough guy to double up.
Yeah, you would think so, sure.
Bounced to 11 this year. You look at the numbers for him. With all the emphasis of putting the ball in the air this year, nearly 60% of the balls he puts in play have been on the ground. So that's probably the main reason why. Fisher taking off.
We talked about Maybin's speed, and probably when he was starting out his career, somebody convinced him to hit the ball on the ground and use his speed. Tough thing to change once you get to the major league level.
And there are not many guys that are subscribing to that method anymore.
No. Launch angle and hit the ball in the air and trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
One out, one on. The 3-2.
And another long at bat. A lot of them tonight. This will be the 9th pitch coming up.
Fisher at first, the go-ahead run. Another long hold from Pagan. Still as a statue, and now time is called.
He's trying to change things up.
The payoff. Absolutely crushed. Gamble looking up. And after all that, Maybin, so much for hitting the ball on the ground, his 8th this year. That gives the Astros a 3-1 lead. And this has been a night for the Astros where they have seen a couple of their newest members do some pretty good things. Verlander and now Maybin.
And their first hit of the night really hurts the Mariners. Fastball in the middle of the plate. The key to all of this was after we saw him break his bat, the slider that was off the plate just away, that he was able to lay off of, ended up getting him into a situation to get some fastballs and finally timed it. And he hit it in the back of the bullpen. For Maybin, his 8th home run on the year.
Strike one to Springer. Pretty amazing, really, when you consider the fact that only 2 of the 7 walks tonight for the Mariners, that the Mariners have given out, that is, have scored. And then the Mariners have put their fair share of Astros base runners on via ball 4. The walk to McCann scores, Fisher running for him. And Beltran leading off the 3rd of the walk. He came home with a sac fly by Bregman. Out to Haniger in right field. Easy play for him. 2 down.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are unusual in this game tonight, and that would be one of them too, especially to a club that is first in hitting, first in runs scored. You'd think that they would really take advantage of a situation like that, but we talked about it, effectively wild for Miranda. Maybe had something to do with it.
Now here is Bregman, who made it a 1-0 game in the 3rd with that sacrifice fly. Verlander tonight making his Astros debut. A run over 6 innings, a walk, 7 strikeouts. Only run the Seager blast. Joe Musgrove, who we have seen this year in the rotation for the Astros. Now the bullpen getting loose again. Heredia cutting across. Puts it away for out number 3. That was a 1-out walk to McCann. And then Cameron Maybin. 9 pitches, and the 9th did not come back. Time to stretch. Astros by a couple. Never before played today. Out of the bottom of the 7th, Astros have taken a 3-1 lead. Mike, tough time. No surprise against one of the best, Justin Verlander.
Had a feeling that he was going to pitch well tonight, and he certainly did. He topped out at 98 miles an hour, had a really good breaking ball. Mariners had a tough time with him. Didn't really have too many opportunities to hit with runners in scoring position. Ended up scoring the 1 run off of him. That was the solo home run by Kyle Seager, but he was pretty aggressive with his fastball. Last fastball he threw was 99 miles an hour, 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run. It was earned. Again, the solo home run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 103 pitches, 73 of those for strikes.
New pitcher up on the hill for the Astros is Joe Musgrove.
Well, Aaron mentioned he was in the starting rotation at the beginning of the year, but ERA at 5. 100 innings for him, 89 strikeouts, 28 walks, opponents hitting 281. He's given up 17 home runs this year. Fastball right around 95 miles an hour. Slider, cutter, curveball, changeup, has them all.
Since going to the rotation, Musgrove has been very good. Juan Centeno, the new catcher. Now he has really ironed out some command problems since going to the bullpen. 5 walks to 22 strikeouts since becoming a reliever. You know, as a starter, opponents were hitting over 300 against Musgrove. Now, pitching out of the bullpen, they're hitting beneath 180 against him. Gamble behind 1-2. Astros had the shift on. That bounces right to Altuve. Well, join us for Fan Appreciation Night presented by Emirates Airline and Holland American Line on Friday, September 22nd. Enjoy great prize giveaways, including TVs, autographed jerseys, and much more. Plus a spectacular post-game fireworks show courtesy of T-Mobile. Tickets, as always, can be found at Mariners.com. Should be a good one. Friday night against the Indians coming to town. Fireworks post-game. Zunino in play. Bregman charging a low pick on the run. 2 outs. That brings up Heredia with 2 down.
Good fastball at 95 miles an hour.
Missing that time, not by much. Well, nothing but heat to Heredia.
Trying to keep the ball down and away from him.
Correa moving in quickly. 3 up, 3 down, all on the ground. Spread of the wealth. Second to third, short this time to end things. We go to the 8th.
Hi, everybody. Angie Mentink here at the Ford Sports Desk. It's Bark in the Park night here at Safeco Field. Almost 600 Poochies are up in the upper deck here at Safeco Field. Use the hashtag Where I Root and let us know where you are rooting, with or without your canine. This is Puff Daddy and Princess, and clearly, yeah, they are roaring here at Mariners Bark in the Park night. And then we've got this one, Darcy checking in from Italy at the Coliseum, repping the Mariners flag. Keep the photos coming. Use the hashtag Where I Root, presented by Alaska Airlines, and we'll try to get your photos on the air. Aaron, back up to you. Puff Daddy and Princess.
Yeah, I can't follow that, Ange, but
vicious.
We'll do our best. We appreciate the update. Ryan Garten, the new pitcher for the Mariners.
Just 12 innings for him on the air. Opponent's hitting 283. Fastball right around 93 miles an hour. A slider, curveball, changeup to go with it. Tough part of the lineup for him. Altuve, Correa, Ariel all do up.
You know, Mike, one guy that Altuve never could hit was Carson Smith. And as we see the 18th inning now going on, Blue Jays and Red Sox, Carson Smith is up on the mound for the Red Sox
really
for the first
for
time. It's been 18 months, Mike.
Yeah, good for him.
Tommy John then a setback. Garten fielding his position. One down. But I'll tell you what, Altuve could not hit that slider, Carson Smith. And no. Altuve, as we know, hits everybody.
Hits everybody.
It's a pretty exciting night for Carson Smith.
What inning is that game in? 18?
Carson's saying it takes 18 innings to get me in here. I've been waiting 18 months for this. Come on. 16 months, I beg your pardon.
Josh Donaldson just was thrown out of the game arguing strikes. Probably getting a little bit tired anyway. 18 innings.
I'm done with this.
Yeah.
One out for Correa. 20 home runs each of his first 3 big league seasons. The amazing thing about Carson too, we know that he has that very dramatic delivery.
Right.
Never really had any serious injuries whatsoever in the minor leagues. Don't have a track record of that, but I think you could tell that that
was still concerning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it sounds almost evil to say a matter of time, but we talked with Carson. He was actually here earlier this year when the Red Sox were in town. He was traveling with the team while rehabbing. And he said that, listen, this is the way that I throw. I'm not changing it. This is what got me here.
Yeah. And he's right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully things go well for him tonight and he can stay healthy the rest of the year.
3 balls and a strike to Correa.
He challenged him. Good fastball. 92 right in the middle of the plate. After falling behind.
Gurriel on deck, a home run yesterday. The opposite way in front of Haneker. Correa aboard for the first time, a 1-out single.
Francisco Liriano getting loose in the pen for Houston. Liriano pitched in yesterday's game. And the starter, now a reliever for Houston.
Into center. Hangs up for Heredia. 2 outs. And here's what's bizarre, Mike. We've been talking about the Angels and mentioning that game Carson Smith pitching. So Carson is the 11th different pitcher tonight for the Red Sox.
Yes.
As they are in the 18th.
Yeah.
How about this? Yesterday, Mike Scioscia and the Angels setting an American League record using 12 pitchers in an 11-inning win against the A's. So could we see that record now matched tonight with the Red Sox? Seems like that's a very strong possibility.
I think it is, yeah.
They'll need one more to match it. Only in September?
I would say only in September. Good call, Aaron. Which it also was something that we've talked about in the past, and that is maybe there's some sort of rule change that's going to happen to try to figure out the month of September, because a lot of clubs would like to call guys up, obviously, to use them, especially in the bullpen now, and the Mariners have certainly done that, just like everybody else. But can you find a way to limit the amount of guys that you can use? Not necessarily the ones that you call up, but just how many of them can be used on a certain night.
Well, the best part about Scioscia yesterday in that 11th inning, he used 3 pitchers to get the final 3 outs. He really went mix and match for those.
He wanted the record.
He wanted the record. Somebody told him. You're 3 shy. I can handle that just fine. That 11-inning game yesterday, Angels and A's, also only in September. 438 the TOG of that one.
No. Again, that's why I think that you're going to see some sort of rule put in place. As much as they've talked about speeding the game up and all the different things that they want to try, they certainly will look at that as well.
Orioles come back.
Wow.
Take down the Yankees. Very meaningful game for both sides. Time call.
Another tough night for the Yankees bullpen.
Manny Machado with the walk-off. A strike. Gonzalez looked like he thought he was taking ball 4.
Beltran waiting on deck. Gregerson also getting loose in the pen with Houston, Celeriano, and Gregerson.
When we get to the home half of this 8th inning, top third will be coming up. Segura, Alonso, Cano. Any of them reach Nelson Cruz. Segura already with the head start. Swung over in the shift. And that ends the inning. Well, the Mariners right now just a bloop and a blast away from things. Speaking of Segura, he'll lead things off, followed by Alonso, and then Robinson Cano sitting on 299 career homers.
Everybody, Angie Mentink here at the Ford Sports Desk. Mariners trying to rally here at Safeco Field. Meantime, where are you cheering them on? Let us know. Use that hashtag Where I Root, presented by Alaska Airlines. Tom checks in. He is in Pullman with his buddy. Again, the hashtag to use, Where I Root, presented by Alaska Airlines. And we'll try to get your photo on the air, guys.
Thank you, Angie. Segura's first pitch. Breaks his bat. Wants no part of it. There's out number one. Not much left over.
Musgrove has come into the game, and it's been nothing but ground balls. Pitched the 7th inning, 3 ground ball outs, and it starts the 8th with a ground ball out.
Shift is on for Alonso. I'll be interested to find out, talking with some Astros people tomorrow, what they kind of see the future for Musgrove is, if this is something that they project for him going forward, working in relief, or if they think that he would be better served getting back into the rotation. But what he has done, we mentioned it earlier. The numbers have been great.
The numbers you read, they were,
different
really
guy.
Good. Different guy, throwing a lot more strikes and obviously keeping the ball on the ground to help himself out.
I'd have to think, though, and Jerry's talked about this before, about different pitchers, that it's just so tough to give up on a starting pitcher because they're so valuable.
It is, but I know that you also had a conversation with A.J. Hinch earlier this year about Davinsky, who was a starting pitcher, and he had to make a change.
Threw a no-hitter in the minors.
For whatever the reasons were, and it's worked out great for him. So
it is amazing.
And they're also going to have Verlander for a little while.
Yeah, that's right. They got him for a couple more years.
Right.
A strikeout. There's 2 up, 2 down. He sat down all 5 that he's faced. It is incredible. You talk to some pitchers who make the change to the bullpen as we take a look at our CenturyLink What's Next. Andrew Moore going tomorrow as the Mariners slide Mike Leake to Friday. Game 1 against the Angels. Lance McCullers will be his first day pitching in nearly 40 days. A brilliant curveball and a young pitcher that has been slowed only by his own injuries. But it's been interesting. More times than not, you hear a starter who has a hard time with command, and they will tell you that when they go to the bullpen, that they are forced to throw strikes. Right? You have no time to settle into a game, especially if you're thrown into the fire.
I think sometimes too, when that happens, you go from being a starter thinking you have to throw and use 4 pitches to all of a sudden you make it pretty basic. You're down to 2. You throw my fastball and maybe a slider.
Smoked into right field, base hit. That'll bring the tying run to the plate. Nelson Cruz.
He has really been swinging the bat well. 3 hits again for Cano. 3 hits tonight. And he gets a fastball. It's in the middle of the plate, and he hits it into right field with some authority. Solid line drive. I think sometimes too, Aaron, along those lines, you find out with certain pitchers that having the opportunity to sit around and think for 4 days, it can be a problem because they overanalyze.
Sure.
Maybe they just don't handle it as well. As opposed when you're in the bullpen, the phone rings, you jump up, you get loose real quick, and you're in the ball game.
You're thrown into it.
Yeah.
First pitch strike to Nelly.
.31 home runs on the year. They threw a fastball in the inside corner, and it was in the middle of the plate. About 19 innings now, man. 19 innings.
Hector Velasquez, the 12th pitcher, the record-tying 12th pitcher for the Red Sox. Well, that consecutive days. Angels set the record yesterday. Red Sox tying it.
Shea Simmons getting loose in the Mariner pen. Along with Edwin Diaz.
I talked to Shea about that 90-mile-an-hour pitch today, by the way.
Yes.
He said, it's a cutter. He said, I just started throwing it. Like literally just started throwing it. And this is still a very close game. Hence trying to get 2 innings of scoreless relief from Musgrove. Gregerson warming, Liriano as well. Out to center. Maybin's got space. Threat comes to a close. Cano stranded. We have completed 8. On to the 9th. Mariners down by a couple.
Welcome back to Safeco Field. Angie Mentink here at the Ford Sports Desk. And just to give a little bit more information on the extra inning game. Hang on, I'll tell you about that in a second. First, let me give you this Where I Root presented by Alaska Airlines. Brad is there in Ketchikan, Alaska. And if he's there, he's probably having some good pizza. Remember to use that hashtag Where I Root presented by Alaska Airlines. I wanted to give you a little bit more information. You guys were talking about the Red Sox-Toronto Blue Jays game. And that game right now using 12 pitchers. Well, the Major League record, because of course the Angels set a new American League record yesterday. The Red Sox tie it today. The Major League record set by the Colorado Rockies back in 2015 with 13 pitchers. And that was in a 16-inning game. So they're in 19 innings. And the fact that they've only used 12 is really economical, guys, if you think of it that way.
Well, it sounds like a couple of great games. Heredia up to the wall. Has just enough room. Beltran a deep fly ball out.
13 pitchers.
Just saw Shea Simmons make his Mariners debut. Yep. The record-tying 40th pitcher for the Mariners this year. Speaking of Major League records.
1 hit, couple of strikeouts for him. The fastball was 95 to 98 miles an hour.
You know, Mike, there, from a hitter's perspective, if you have a 19-inning game, you got a chance to really up that average, right? Or you have a chance just to totally tank it.
Yeah.
And looking through that box score, there's Andrew Benintendi, who's a really promising young hitter.
Yes, good player.
He's going to take a hit tonight, 0 for 7. Mitch Moreland, good hitter, 0 for 7. Red Sox have used 4 different second basemen. Steve Pearce, who led the game off for the Blue Jays, 0 for 6 before being pinch hit for. His replacement has gone 0 for 2, so that leadoff spot's combined 0 for 8 for the Blue Jays tonight. Centeno taking over for McCann, who was lifted for a pinch runner. We saw Ken Giles yesterday in game 1. Not safe situation. If things hold. Different story today.
He hit 100 miles an hour a number of times yesterday. Pretty good curveball to go along with it.
Strike 3 call.
That was the newly developed cutter.
I was going to say, looked like it. Hey, when we're talking about starters going to the bullpen and having great success,
yeah.
The poster child, you ready for this? There's a pitcher right now in the majors who is maybe the best of what he does, who at one point, Mike, as a starter, an ERA of 5.70. Opposing hitters batting nearly 300 against him. 66 starts. I mean, these are terrible numbers. That's Andrew Miller as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, I remember that.
Miller was a former first-round bust.
Right.
And now he's simply, when healthy, unfortunately on the DL right now. One of the most dynamic relievers in the game. A breaking ball there to make it 0-2. Simmons coming over from the Braves organization. Just 7 big league appearances last year, missing nearly all of this season with injury. We'll let Cano take care of this one. Maybin hustling to first base, but is out number 3. Simmons keeping the Mariners in this one. A 1-2-3 top of the 9th. Mariners down to their final 3 outs.
The 9th, and the Mariners need a couple to keep this thing going. Mariner fans there with their rally caps on. That is well played. So far, this one has been, at least offensively, the Astros out in front and getting it done. Coming up on Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines, we'll head inside the clubhouse. What a job by Justin Verlander. We've got to tip our cap to him, but of course, Ariel Miranda, absolutely fantastic. Just didn't have the pitch count to keep going in this one. We'll break it all down and we'll let you know what's going on in the AL wild card race. As always, we'll hear from Scott Service, the skipper. It's all coming up on Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines.
All right, thank you, Angie. Looking at Ken Giles for the 2nd straight day.
53 appearances, 28 saves. 53 2/3, 72 strikeouts. Opponents hitting just 177 against him. He's given up 3 home runs this year. Average fastball, 98 miles an hour, and a slider to go with it.
Hanley Ramirez wins it for the Red Sox in the bottom of the 9th inning after Mookie Betts a double. A final in 19. We had some changes defensively. Josh Reddick, a Gold Glove winner, is in left field now. Marwin Gonzalez going from left field to first base. Taking over for Gurriel. Fighting off 99 miles an hour upper outside part of the zone. Now for Giles, his numbers since the All-Star break have been simply lights out. 5 walks, 33 punch-outs, only 2 runs. And he gets Seager on the slider for round number 1.
So difficult to lay off of that slider. Ends up being a strike, but he's going to swing over the top of it, and we're trying to get ready for 100 miles an hour. Swing started a little bit early. You can see he's out in front.
Like the velocity in the repertoire is almost identical to Edwin Diaz. I mean, is this? Are we looking at pretty much the same thing? Any differences that are subtle that we don't pick up on?
I still think that for Edwin, I think that the speed of his arm, which at times because of his lower half causes some problems in that fastball at 99 miles an hour. I think as he moves along, he will be more consistent as far as being able to throw strikes. We've seen him a couple of times this year lose it. I think that will change to where he's more consistent with it. But I still think that he is a tough AB. But it's hard to argue with 100 at the top of the strike zone.
And he is just dotting with that fastball. Does not go.
Yeah, not an easy thing to do. Slider just off the plate.
Strike 3 called the slider again.
Just have to get ready for the fastball. He throws a slider on the outside corner.
The last time this year a Major League team lost a game allowing 2 hits or fewer, the Mariners have allowed just 2 hits tonight, was the Rich Hill no-hitter lost in the 10th when Josh Harrison homered for the Pirates. Only 10 times in Mariners history have the Mariners lost a game allowing 2 hits or fewer. No 1-2. We were told at the start of this series that Giles was honed in as good as he ever has been in an Astros uniform, and it certainly looked that way the last 2 days.
Last 2 nights, you bet.
Nearly an immaculate inning for Giles. He strikes out the side on 10 pitches, and that's the ball game. Astros have secured themselves a series win as they take this one today. 3-1 the final score. The Astros get 2 hits and they end up winning it, as Miranda does not allow a hit over 6 innings, does walk 6 batters however, and Cameron Maybin, the deciding swing, one of the newest Astros, the 2-run blast in the 7th inning. Mariners postgame presented by Alaska Airlines starts right now. Val, Bradley, guys, all yours.
Well, Aaron, thank you. You heard some stats from Aaron about this game. what Miranda did, starting with a no-hitter through 6, but ties a career high. Val with 6 walks. The Astros get 2 hits, one, of course, by Maybin, the 2-run home run. 2 hits, and they score 3 runs.